Good morning. Good morning. And welcome to Bellingham Unitarian Fellowship. All who join us in the spirit of goodwill are welcome, whether here in the Buff Sanctuary or on Zoom from wherever you are. I welcome you. My name is Walt Ellis. Some of you may know me or may know of me from my role in the back there in the tech booth. Today, I will be taking a step out of my usual environment to talk a little about change and moving forward. What is change? How can I change? And more importantly, how can we change?
Good morning. Oh, how wonderful to be greeted. As I got ready for service this morning and reflected on the idea that our life here on earth is always requiring change, is a journey that we're all taking. There was a beginning, and we are apparently in the middle, and there will be an end to this journey. I was thinking that although it's a universal experience, we experience it individually, but we're not alone. We live in communities, and in all the different communities I've ever lived in, I've always sought out those people, places, and opportunities that support and encourage my journey, knowing that if I'm safe, those others with me will also be. So as Jamie lights the chalice this morning, I invite each of you to bring into your mind and your heart those who have been beacons of light along your journey. Those people, places, and opportunities that have helped you navigate life's challenges and joys. Those who have brought you comfort and eased your pain and suffering and reveled in your joys. Those who have shown up and helped illuminate your path so that you are able to be here right now, this morning, within your beloved community, shining a light through these times of such chaos, change, and opportunity. Now I get to lead you in our covenant. As we take it into our heart and spread it. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service gives it life, celebrating our diversity and joined by a quest for truth. We work for peace and honor all creation. This is our covenant.
Hello. Yeah. In my story today, there's a beach. And on this beach lives an old man, just in a little house by the beach. And every day, the old man walks on the beach. And many days, he sees a young girl also walking on the beach. Now this beach is a special beach because this beach has starfish. This beach has starfish everywhere. And whenever the tide goes out, you can see starfish all over the shore of the beach. But now starfish, they live in the water. They're not meant to stay on sand. And sometimes, when the tide goes out, the starfish get stuck. And this girl that the man sees walking along the beach, whenever the tide is out and there are starfish all over the beach, he sees her walk along, stoop down, and pick up a starfish, and gently throw it back into the sea. And then she walks a little farther, and she picks up another starfish and throws it back into the sea. And another, and another. Now on this beach there are hundreds, thousands maybe, of starfish. And when this girl walks on the beach, she gets a few, a dozen, 20, 21 perhaps. But not enough to make a difference. And the man always wonders, why? Is it for fun? But she continues. And so it goes, day after day. And the girl keeps picking up the starfish. And the old man keeps wondering, why does she do it? And so one day his curiosity gets the better of him. And he walks out onto that beach when the girl is walking by. And he walks up to her and he says, why do you do this? I see you out here every day. You pick up the starfish and you throw them back in the water, And I understand. Starfish are meant to be in the water. That's where they go. But how could you make a difference when there are so many? And the girl pauses for a moment and bends down, picks up another starfish, and throws it back into the water. And then she turns to the man and says, "Made a difference for that one." From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Good morning, I'm Reverend Paul Beckel. From time to time, one of the ways that we give and receive and support and make a difference to one another is by creating a space in which we can be vulnerable enough to share some of the things that are going on in our life that have really profound significance. Sometimes these are joys. Sometimes these are pains. Fairly clear how it can feel vulnerable to share pains, but even joys sometimes one might think, well, how silly. Is that really worth saying? But if it makes a difference to you, I want you to feel free to come up to the microphone now and share a joy or a sorrow. Go ahead and line up along here, but come all the way up close so that there's not a long pause. I want to move through this fairly quickly so that if you're brief here, and we'll have more people have a chance to share, and then there'll be lots of time after the service and during the potluck lunch where you can share in more detail. So after you've shared, I will invite you to pick up a glass stone, and if you want to release what it is that you're bringing, you can drop it in the water. And or if you would like to light a candle in memory of someone or something, or light a candle just to rekindle some light in your life, you can do that. I'll bring some light down from the chalice, so please come up and share.
Hi, I'm Barbara, and my best friend Dee is having to have heart valve replacement on Tuesday, and so I'm holding her and her family in my heart.
Hi, I'm Liz. Dog's tooth violet, Iphion, cowslips, and tulips.
I'm Jamie, and we have some troubles in our family, both with my sister and my brother and our daughter.
I'm Melanie. In honor of Mother's Day coming up, I'd like to honor Helen, who's the adoptive mother who raised me, and Elsie, who was my biological mother.
I'm Ron. We've been in California twice in the last month. The first time was for the memorial party. Yes, it was a party for my oldest cousin who died around Christmas. And then 2 weeks ago, we were back to celebrate the 100th birthday of my mother, who's alive, well, sentient, healthy, takes care of herself in the house that she's lived in for most of her life.
Those of you on Zoom, please put your joys and sorrows in the chat. I have the chat up here on my phone, and then I can light a candle or drop a stone for you. So please go ahead and put that on, and then I will do that. We can share yours as well.
I'm Rod. This coming Saturday, we'll be celebrating my mother's life at the First Unitarian Church in Providence, Helen Day Haynes. She was born on October 13th, 1929, and she died December 21st of last year. Love you, Mom.
I'm Barbara Gilday, and I have two celebrations. One, Andrea's daughter, my granddaughter Allie, also called Rose, is 21 now, which is a big deal. And the other one is I just celebrate my very talented, courageous, visionary daughter, and the concerts that she put on this weekend, totally improvised.
I'm Mark Allen. I have good news. As of about, I think it's 3 a.m. tomorrow morning, May 8th, I will be 70 years old. However, your beautiful evergreen state of Washington still thinks I'm under 21 because they still card me.
I'm Anna, and my concern is for my two sons who still don't talk to each other. Prayers for their reconciliation.
Hello, I'm Karen. I have mentioned this to some of you, but I guess I'll tell the rest of you. I've been diagnosed with breast cancer, and I think everything is going to be quite okay in the end, but I have a bunch of medical treatments I'll be needing to go through in the next couple months. So there we go.
I'm Ann Stevenson, and I'm lighting a candle for all the people amassing on the border trying to get asylum. We have a pretty bad disaster ahead of us, and have had.
My name's Grant, and I'm having some difficulty communicating to my parents why fascism is bad.
Lee Williams says, I'm lighting a candle for Rick and Eli, who will be celebrating, Eli will be celebrating his 37th birthday on Tuesday. Didn't I say Lee Willis? Whoops. Thank you. Yes, Lee Willis. From Rick Steele, Nancy broke her hip, but is receiving excellent care near our home. Hank Ohana. I also want to celebrate my mother, E.K., who would be 106 today. Frank McDonald says, Sue is out of rehab and recovering from her shoulder replacement. Jim Reimer says, wishing you all well from afar. I think he's in Europe and maybe the first person to Zoom from Europe, but who knows? Gail Tillis says, my granddaughter, who has struggled for 18 years with tuberous sclerosis, is going to graduate from high school next month. Ruth Ann Hanlon says, my mother who inspired me to pursue music for all my life. For her, I light a candle. Ruth Ann. Thank you. and for all of the other joys and worries, hopes and dreams, memories that we bring here together, embraced by this beloved community, for all the joys and sorrows that are too tender to name or even maybe recognize within ourselves. We light one more candle, and I'll drop one more stone of release into the water.
I invite you to look around. Give a little wave if you wish. We have a truly lovely community here, one I'm grateful to be a part of. And in this community, you may notice, as you may have noticed in the past, there are certain demographics that are more represented than others. I want you to note that. I think one purpose of community is to bring people together, to share time, acts of service, love, grief and sorrows, and different viewpoints. And we have a lovely community, and in many ways we have all of those things. And in others, some are missing. I'd ask you to think about what we may be missing in our community, and not just why that is and what we can do to change that, but what each of you and each of us can do to gain what we're missing. Because what we lack in our community doesn't just hurt us in our community. It doesn't just hurt those who are missing. It hurts each of us individually who don't have that. So I invite you now and in the future to think, what can each of us individually do to recognize and to seek out what we're missing in our community and who we're missing? I invite you now to join me in singing hymn number 1030 in the Teal hymnal. Some of you may also have the music and words in your order of service. And we'll sing this hymn first in Zulu, and then 3 verses in English. Today I'm going to take a page out of Olivia Butler's book, Parable of the Sower. And instead of singing God, we'll be singing change. We are marching in the light of change. We are sharing in the light of change, and we are fighting for the light of change. Please rise in body and spirit and join me in singing Siyahamba. Siyahambe kukanyen kwenkos, siyahambe kukanyen kwenkos. Siyahambe kukanyen kwenkos, siyahambe kukanyen kwenkos. Siyahamba, hamba, siyahamba, oh siyahamba yenuen kwenkos. Siyahamba, hamba, siyahamba, oh siyahamba. hambe kukenyen kwenkos. We are marching. We are marching in the light of change. 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 We are marching. We are marching. We are marching in the light of change. We are marching. We are marching. We are sharing in the light of change. 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 We are sharing. We are sharing. Oh, we are sharing in the light of change. We are sharing. Sharing, we are sharing, oh, we are sharing. We are fighting for the light of change. 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 We are fighting, oh, we are fighting for the light of change. We are fighting, oh, we are fighting for the light of change. Thank you. I am imperfect. I suspect, and correct me if I'm wrong, there might be a few of you out there who are also imperfect. But one of my favorite parts of being me, of being human, is my ability to change and to grow, to recognize my imperfections, not to focus and dwell on them, but to figure out how I can grow from them, how I can move past where I have erred. And not only can I change, but I can change with those around me. My changing changes my relationships with those around me, and vice versa. And so, as communities, as each of us change, we can change. One thing I appreciate about Buff is that this is a place where I see people working to make that change as individuals, as a community, and within our larger communities. But what about outside the walls of Buff? What about at home, in our own time, when we're not an active part of this changing community? I have ADHD, and one way that, I'm seeing some looks from some of y'all as well. One way that manifests itself for me that I notice is executive dysfunction. For those of you who are less familiar, executive dysfunction, as it works for me, is a difficulty in starting. And so that can be often tasks I don't want to do. It can be a difficulty in starting to write that research paper. It can be a difficulty in getting up and making that meal. And it can even be things that I know I need to do and I want to do. I have a hard time starting sometimes. I get stuck. And I like using that word for it, stuck, because it's not a conscious choice. I'll be stuck in bed, scrolling my phone, not enjoying it. I'll be stuck reading, enjoying it, but knowing that there's something else I want to do more, or something else I need to do. A task, a basic need, vacuuming finally. Now, I mentioned this as a symptom of ADHD for me, but I imagine that most of you may have had similar feelings before. Difficulty just getting started, getting that inertia, doing what you know you want to do, but you just can't quite get into it somehow. And this happens in our personal life, and it happens on a larger scale. I think what's hardest for me is when it continues, when I'm stuck and I stay stuck, or when I look back over the past week and I think, there are so many things that I wanted to do, I planned to do, and I just couldn't quite get started, and so they didn't get done. And some days it feels hopeless. Some days I am lying in bed all day and my laundry is clean in the basket for the third day. And I'm like, why can't I do it? And this is not just on a small scale. This is not just personal for me. I notice things in our world that it seems they should be simple to change. Everyone should want to change them. And yet sometimes the circle keeps moving and they just keep getting worse. Poverty in this country is not getting better. The country's getting richer. GDP is going up. People are not getting richer. We have more recognition now than ever for trans people and trans rights, and yet, Montana lawmaker, Representative Zoe Zephyr, was recently banned from speaking on the House floor for supporting a bill that aims to protect gender-affirming care for trans youth. A representative banned from speaking on the floor. In Uganda, you may have heard, there was recently a law that includes the death penalty for certain acts of homosexuality. And it can include jail time for those who even are aware of it. Every day, there's a new mass shooting in the US. Every day. How? How can we move toward fixing everything that seems inherent in our community, in our country, even in our society as a whole? How can I make a difference? How can I do anything? I have enough on my plate. I'm taking classes as a full-time student. I'm working several jobs in an effort to keep up with an ever-increasing rent. I have friends, I have interests, I have loved ones that I care about. So how can I care about the world? And the simplest answer is I cannot. I can't care about everything. I can't care enough about everything that's going wrong, let alone fix it. But I can care about myself, and I can care about my friends, and my interests, and my loved ones. And maybe I can care a little bit about more of my community, a little bit at a time. People here at Buff, my classmates, those I see and interact with in Bellingham, small business owners, the bus drivers, the people I see on the streets. And caring helps. But caring also is not enough. Caring is important and is crucial and is the first step. But after caring comes doing. And it is this step, this doing, that is so often the hardest one to take. There's a saying attributed to Lao Tzu, the Taoist sage, 千里之行，始于足下. It's often translated as, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. The most important part of the journey, without which the journey cannot take place, cannot even begin, is the beginning. As I mentioned before, this is something I struggle with. It's very difficult for me sometimes to begin. Writing a paper, vacuuming, preparing this sermon. But beginning with a single step, breaking it down, can sometimes be much easier. Getting out of bed, putting down my phone, talking with Kevin about the music. And then a single step after that, and another, and another. But what about when I can't take that first step? An object at rest remains at rest unless acted upon by an outside force. Luckily, I don't exist in a vacuum. I am an object, frequently at rest. But there are no shortage of outside sources. And that's where community comes in. We are not, each of us, beginning our own individual solitary journey of thousands of miles. That would be the loneliest journey. If we play our cards right, we are all of us together embarking on our journeys. One that might be impossible to complete on our own, but one that we just might make a dent in, little by little, together. Now, I've been talking about a journey of 1,000 miles, and some of you who are paying attention might say, Walt, right here in the order of service, it says a relay. It doesn't say a journey. This is false advertising. You got me. This is not just a journey. It is a relay. And I say that for a couple of reasons, and I'll explain. I was a runner in high school. I ran cross country and track, and I've done my fair share of relays. And you know, in a track relay, it is evident that each team member must rely on those before and after them to complete the relay, to do well, to be successful. And if only one member of the relay tries, then you have no 4x4. You will not score. But in cross country, it's not a relay most of the time. I'm running in the woods. I get a time. And yeah, the top 5 scorers on the team are the score. But I'm running my own race for my own time. So how is that a relay? And the answer is, it isn't just the race. It isn't just when I'm trying to perform that's the relay. It is every step of the way. I was that kid in elementary and middle school who would go to the bathroom for 25 minutes to get out of running the mile. And if you had told me, age 11, that I would choose to run 40 to 60 miles a week, I wouldn't even have laughed at you. That's ridiculous. And yet, with the help of my peers and the community the cross-country team created, that's exactly what I did. And I did not enjoy the vast majority of those miles. They hurt. They were painful, they were long, and I wanted to give up. But I was running with my team. Every day during practice, we'd run together in different groups, on different routes sometimes, but that was what kept me going. And even during the race, even when I'm running my own race, when I'm trying to do my own best individually, I'm running with those around me, those runners on my team, and even the runners on different teams. Create a community that allows me to take one more step, even when I think I can't. But say I'm taking these steps. How does it make a difference? How does me taking these metaphorical steps toward the journey of change make a difference by myself? One way I have found to make a change in my life, one step that I've decided to take and that works for me is eating plant-based. I've found that I don't want to support the industry that is animal-based food in America. And that's something I've found that works, and it's been a process. It wasn't immediate, and let me tell you, it wasn't my idea. My boyfriend at the time was the person who pushed me into it. And again, just like with running, if you had asked me a decade ago, hey, Walt, do you think you could be vegan? I would say what probably several of you have heard before. No way, I like bacon too much. But I had support. My boyfriend at the time urged me to eat less meat, to try being vegetarian. And this was a drastic change in my diet at the time. And I tried it with him because he had done it before and he wanted to, and I was like, yeah, I can support you in that, I'll give it a shot. And it wasn't bad. It wasn't as bad as I expected. And then I went off to college, and we were still in a relationship, but we were across the country, and I was like, well, I'm not doing it with Julian anymore. Maybe I start eating fish and chicken again. And that's when I moved to Bellingham, here. And about, I don't know, a week and a half in, I went to a circus campout at the Lookout Arts Quarry, which was incredible. And they had vegan options for all the meals. And I said, well, I mean, they're offering vegan options. I might as well eat them. They're right there. And I saw others in the community, people on Instagram, people I met, who were also eating plant-based. And it didn't make sense to start again when I had already put in the work to stop eating meat, you know? And maybe I wasn't the one who decided to do it first. I had help. I had people who not only pushed me to try it, but who made it easy for me. So I didn't even have to do half of the work. And the dining halls at Western, dining halls though they may be, also had vegan and vegetarian options. And when I blessedly moved off campus and did not eat at the dining halls any longer, I was in control of my own food. And, well, it didn't make sense to start up then. I mean, I chose what I bought. I chose what I made. And also, this was in the beginning of the pandemic, so I wasn't eating out at restaurants anyway. I was cooking for myself. It's like, well, why not take the plunge, go vegan, give it a try? And it worked for me. And I'm glad, because that is a difference that I found that I can make. But some of you may have heard this as well. You know, when the topic comes up, and I'm like, oh, you know, I'm sorry, I will not eat that. I eat plant-based. But why? After, you know, how I like bacon too much is why? It doesn't make a difference. Why not eat this slice of pizza that will get thrown out otherwise? Why not eat this food that I am giving to you that you don't even have to buy? I made this for you. And the answer for me is several-fold. The first is, I want to support my values. And the animal industry in America doesn't quite fall within my personal values. But one person eating less chicken, how would that make a difference? Americans, on average, eat 23 chickens a year. So that's 23 fewer, right? But they're still killing the chickens. They're still making the meat. And forgive me, I know there's a stereotype of the preachy vegan, and that is not my aim. I'm trying to explain how this change works for me. 23 per person per year, 8 billion total per year in America. But that won't change if I stop. Demand won't lower enough. But it made a difference for that one. That's one chicken that I didn't buy off the shelves. That's one time that someone thought, oh, if I make a chicken dish, then Walt can't eat it. If I want Walt to eat my food, I'll have to try something different. And that's one time that other people thought, I wonder why he's doing that. Maybe it's worth looking into. I never killed the food I ate. I never, went out and hired someone to do it. But if I, by making somewhat of a significant change, to be fair, in my life, can support an industry that does not fall within my values just a little bit less, then that is a step. And that's not even the first step. And I am not the first person to take it, nor will I be the last. I stand on the shoulders of Daya. I stand on the shoulders of all those who came before me, who made it possible to eat plant-based without only eating beans and rice and salads. And my hope is that by taking this step in my life, I further the relay. I continue the journey that generations past have taken, that those around me are taking, that people who may be thinking about it might want to take, supporting others the way I was supported. And so people in the future have a journey to continue, to create more of a basis for everyone else, to trust that even if it feels like I am not making a difference in my life, that I am a drop in the bucket, that the drops will keep dripping. And the drops have been dripping. And that those around me might also begin to fall. In all of my endeavors, in all of the changes I make, this is my goal. To do a little bit to improve myself and how I affect society, but not just by my doing, by my supporting, by my helping, by my creating a place where it is safe for others to make changes as well, even if they're not the same changes. I cannot run every relay race. I can't. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. I can't make even a tiny change in every single issue that I see. But I can make a change in some. And I can support those who are making a change in some others. And bit by bit, this garden of change will grow. That is my goal, to create just enough of a change to make a little difference. Be like the bird who's halting in her flight, on a limb too slight, feels it give way beneath them, and sings, knowing they have wings, yet sings, knowing they have wings. Be like the bird who, halting in their flight, on a limb too slight, feels it give way beneath them, yet sings, knowing they have wings, yet sings, knowing they have wings. Be like the bird who, halting in their flight, on a limb too slight, feels it give way beneath them, yet sings, knowing they have wings, yet sings, sings, knowing they have wings. So I've shared a little bit about what's been working for me, what I've found can make a difference in my life, and in some way in the lives of those around me, supporting, being that drop in a bucket, running just a little bit farther in that race. But like I started with, I am imperfect. I know I can only do so much, but I think I can do more than I am doing now. And I think every day I can do a little more. I can take one more step in that relay race. I can find one new race to look into, to maybe try out. I can hold a glass of water at the side of the road for someone else who is running, who needs that encouragement to take one more step. What steps do you take? What steps have you taken? And I want you to think for a minute, what steps do you wish you could take? I'm sure for many of us, there are many steps that we wish we could take. And they are changing, and there are always more. But I ask this next. Why can't you? Not every step, not the whole race, not every race. But think, and this is not rhetorical. This is not, me challenging you. This is me genuinely asking, and asking you to ask yourself, what is stopping you from taking another step? One of those steps that you wish you could take. There are things that stop each of us every day, like the executive dysfunction. It is not easy. But how can we remove those barriers? How can we find that one step that we wish we could take and find out what is stopping us and make it so it doesn't? And again, this is not a solo journey. How can we work with those around us to remove those barriers? How can I be the catalyst that gets someone else off of their phone and out of bed? How can I remove just one of those reasons that you cannot take that step you want to take? Because we're not alone. We are all running together. And we are all on the sidelines, and we are all cheering each other on. So that is what I want to leave you with. What do you wish you could do? What is stopping you from doing it? And how can we remove those barriers? I look forward to finding my own answers.
I wasn't quite sure how I was going to make this ask, but I think you've just heard a wonderful reason behind and possibility of how you can make a difference. Change is expensive. Change costs. Being a light in the community costs. There are lots to go around with that. And Buff is a change agent in our community. We need to support that. If you're already donating on a regular basis, I encourage you to look at that and perhaps increase that. I know I did. I didn't think I could. Well, I sat down and I did. So I welcome you all to make this maybe your first step in doing something different that really affects change, that carries integrity, that moves our values into the range of possibilities, because they're out there and they depend on us because we're all possibilities. So let's see what we can do in supporting Buff in the future, starting today. Collections,
We all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. It won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if I have things you need to borrow, for no one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show me. When you're not strong, I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. It won't be long
congregation here at Buff and beyond these walls in your workplaces. And in your families. They do so much, and you reminded me of, it's not all my race. There are Sundays when I do more of the stuff up here, and I know I can because I know there's other Sundays where y'all are doing so much and, handing on water, or I'm not going to be a vegan next week, but you have inspired me to do my thing. And there's so much here at Buff that I don't want to do or I can't do, but there are so many every week that make it possible, and that keeps me going. I have just a couple of announcements about some fun and some mundane things that have to be done at Buff, and I am so grateful to those of you who are doing the nitty-gritty, but also those of you who are around, surrounding and helping those people who are doing the nitty-gritty. So today we have a potluck after the service. Please come. Some of you didn't know there was a potluck today. Some of you knew but just couldn't get up and make that happen. Well, there's always a next time. Or there's cleanup you can do, or you can dance with Mark. Or who knows, use your imagination. There are all kinds of things that you can contribute. So please come, regardless. And after the potluck, there's going to be a Q&A about the budget we're having an annual meeting in 2 weeks on the 21st. Mundane, but just vital to keeping us going. And support the people who have put together the work of the congregation so that we can operate our annual meeting, and in particular our budget. Very complicated. I find every year that I miss things when I'm seeing the numbers come together, and how much I need each of you to say, hey, what about this and what about that? So come review that with us and ask questions and find out why we do the things the way we do. I did send out an email this week about the meeting, the agenda, and the preliminary budget that is going to be proposed to you and voted on at the meeting. I have heard from a number of people that they got it. I've heard from a number of other people that they found it in their spam, and other people who didn't get it at all. So please check your spam and let me know if you didn't get it at all. We have printed copies. Judy spontaneously this morning said, hey, I'll make a bunch of copies. And so she's got some printed copies. Sky's going to be leading the Q&A after the service. Is going to be in the conference room. It's also going to be on Zoom. Not at this Zoom address, but at an address that's in the order of service and on the website. So please come to all of these things, and thank you for all of the ways that you contribute to making this happen.
I'll need help dancing during the general meeting.
As we extinguish our chalice today, I want to leave you with a few words. The first of which you may have heard before: be the change you wish to see in the world. But I want to add, support the change you wish to see in the world, and sow the seeds of the change that you may never get to see. Thank you. And now please join me in circling round. As usual, let's have one circle around the outside and a smaller one around the inside.